So Sarah, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, David, for doing this. And of course, thanks to Photo Wings for making these talks possible. We're super excited to be talking with the three of our subjects and sharing with all of you what we're up to with this 7-year project. And I just want to start because many of you may know that Ed Kashi has done aging issues for years. He's the most committed photographer I know on this subject, and Ilvi is too, but Ed is sort of really the guy in this space. And Ed, I just wanted you to, to talk a bit about how this came to be.
Yeah. Well, thank you and welcome everyone. So it was a bunch of years ago, a few of us at Seven, actually the three of us, were thinking of doing a global look at aging and trying to get away from, a lot of the negative stereotypes and tropes about how we age, which is particularly problematic in the United States because of the way we have culturally evolved in our view of aging. Anyway, and just as a backdrop, I spent 8 years with my wife, Julie Winokur, a writer and filmmaker, doing a big project called Aging in America. So this has been a 20 or 25-year journey so far looking at this particular issue. Anyway, so a few years ago, the three of us were cooked up a project to do on global aging. It didn't go anywhere. And then last year we sort of revisited it. And then I think Sarah, you played a huge role. You're sort of like the editorial director here, but you played a huge role in focusing our desires and our thoughts on this idea of the simple concept of looking at statistics and then doing photographic essays to humanize and flesh those statistics out. And I think our grand ambition, in a way, for those of you who remember the Family of Man project, which was 1950s or anyway, way back, where our dream is that we create sort of a contemporary version of that, but through the prism of global aging.
That's a great summary. And we'll get into some of the more details later in terms of how we switched from trying to find grant money to send reporters all over the world to thank you in a weird lesson of the pandemic. Oh, wait, we could have people working locally and a lot more people can be involved and the costs just, become minimal. But before we go deeper into some of those things, we're splitting the conversation up today into 3 points where we show you photos that are coming in. We are still planning to launch our website on or about September 18th. You've signed up for this seminar, so we'll be able to let you know when it does launch. But Ed, could you take us through the first batch of photos?
Yes.
Oh, screen sharing, you've done it well.
There we go. All right. Toggling in and out of that, folks. So I'm going to just briefly give you the name of the photographers, the name of the subject, and that's it.
And where they are.
Yeah, and where they are. So this first set of images is by Paulo Verzon, and he did a story about Nikos Koratsias, a 70-year-old man living on the Greek island of Andros. And so these are a few of his images.
Photo essays are going to be probably 12 to 15 images when they're on the website. You'll see everything. Ed made some selects.
And this is an image by Chiara Negrolo of Nan. She's taking a break while practicing Chinese Yang Sheng early in the morning. And this is in Saigon in Vietnam. So with this edit, folks, some people only have one image, some people have a few. This is by Sheila Pre-Bright, which is so wonderful to have her a part of this project. Her subject was Tina Dunkley, a mixed media artist. And then
Sheila's on the call today too. Some of our photographers are with us. So
hello, everyone. Hello, contributors. And this is an image by Dorothy Lebrun. She's a German woman living in France. This image was made in Portugal. This is Mario Torres in a small village. And then, I know, this is Ilvi's work about her dad. And I think it's so beautiful that some folks in this project, and Ilvi is a great example of that, got to photograph people like family members or people who are very close to them, which is always a very beautiful thing to be able to do. So this is in the Netherlands. And well, I'll let Ilvi and Einar talk more about these images. And then this extraordinary moment.
Yes.
Right.
Pause on this one.
Yeah.
That's Einar
Yeah.
doing a backflip off of his houseboat. And Ilvi got that image. Let's leave that up for a minute, Ed, before one of the super fun things about this project, I saw there'll be a question coming in from Tony asking what our criteria is. We're going to answer some of that, Tony, as we go. But one of the things is you should know that this first story prompt, we didn't say that, is 72. The current, Ed mentioned that we were taking statistics and telling stories, very human stories. The current global median life expectancy age is 72. So we were like, okay, let's show 72 around the world. Let's see what it looks like. And as much as this project also will address, the challenges of a global infrastructure with more people who are older, I don't like the word aging, but we want to surprise you too. We want to break stereotypes. And Ilvi and Einar, I think if any image breaks a stereotype about, getting older, it's got to be like this one. So, and let's lose the image and see Ilvi and Einar's faces. Could you just tell us first a little about this image, and then I have a few questions for you too.
Okay, shall I talk a little bit about the image first?
Yeah, why don't you do that, and then I'll ask you questions.
Okay, so my dad has been living on this houseboat for about 50 years, right, Dad? 50-something years?
That's right, yeah.
And there are 4 kids in the family, and we all grew up on the boat. And in the summer, which in the Netherlands is a very short moment in time, I can tell you that much. But when the sun is out, of course, all the kids go to the boat, and yeah, we like to swim, as you can see. And yeah, my dad does too.
Is this a tradition? Let's actually, Ed, can we stop sharing screen now? Yep. So because I want to see Einar's face. Great. So Einar, before we started recording, you told us something about the tradition of doing a backflip in water.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, once a year I do this backflip because the sun doesn't shine much in Holland, and when it does, and we've got a warm day, as Ilvi told you. All kids are coming, and the grandchildren are coming, and they are all yelling, do the backflip, and then I just put on my swimming trousers and I'll do the backflip. But that's only once a year.
Wow, and it's been caught for history, right? That's so impressive.
One take.
That's right there.
Yeah, your daughter is a really wonderful photographer. She makes some amazing images like the one we just looked at. Can you talk a little bit about what you thought when Ilvi said, oh, hey, Dad, can I photograph you for this big global project on, I'm going to say getting older. I'm not going to say aging anymore. Yeah, what did you think?
Well, I didn't have to think long about it. I said, well, it's a nice project. I want to join it. And she normally doesn't take much photographs. And so I thought it would be nice to have some pictures of myself. So that's also a reason I joined this project.
Oh, we're so glad you did.
Okay.
And my dad is the kind of guy who for instance, at his own birthday, likes to disappear or stand in the background. He's not a person to be like in the front. So it was quite difficult photographing him because he doesn't, you know, so it's nice to hear from me that it's one of the reasons for saying yes was actually that he wanted some photographs. That's interesting. Yeah, and I'm very happy because it's true. I didn't have any.
Ilvi, can you talk a little bit about the ways we've been thinking about the project in terms of, you know, we went from that space of thinking, okay, we'll find the countries around the world that, you know, have the biggest issues. And it became this super grassroots organic thing. Can you talk a little bit more about how we invited photographers, how we're still inviting photographers, but what our hopes for in terms of this global look, so that we don't just see Einar, who's 72, but Nancy and John and so many other people?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's been a process. Like you said, the first project proposal, which was, I think, 3-4 years ago, it was before COVID. And you mentioned it earlier that COVID really changed a lot. It made us all three realize that these inside voices from certain communities are worth so much. So we started reaching out to photographers around the world. And luckily, the three of us, Sarah, Ed, and I, teach a lot. We mentor a lot of photographers as well, which really helped us. We have a very, well, quite a big network. And we felt if we could tap into the network and ask other photographers if they would be enthusiastic to be a part of this, then we could make it a bigger global project. So we did a lot of meetings together, and then we sent out an email to all the people that we thought would be interested. And we got a beautiful response of photographers who wanted to join. And yeah, we're what I love about it is that we're in contact with these people. We're getting images in at this moment, and to see the difference from country to country. And not only that, from person to person, at what 72 looks like. It's yeah, it's been really a pleasure to see that, to see it coming together as well.
Yeah, that's a good note. That, I mean, we have some very established photographers. Paolo Bersone, Sheila Pre-Bright are among the people who are well known, who do extensive assignment work or work in the art world, as Sheila does. But we've also opened it to students. To, you know, there's no elitism around this project. I mean, it's really so deeply rooted in. Do you want to tell a story about our humanity, our humankind? You want to do it right where you are? I mean, Ed, let's talk about, just if you can bring in here a little note about the way this is cost effective is because, you know, explain how we're doing it with just inviting people, the generosity of the photographers who are participating.
Yeah, and also to me, this is yet another sort of affirmation of, you know, this bug that photographers get where we can't help ourselves but make pictures and tell stories, even if we're not getting paid in this, as in this case, at least up till now. You know, that there's this level of dedication to the craft, to the sort of art of visual storytelling. And to me, what we've been able to sort of build and accomplish so far is a real testimony to that. And so, you know, as you said, while there are a handful of really established photographers, there's a number of photographers who have been mentees of ours, or students, or people just through the profession that we've come into contact with that we're willing to you know, to be a part of this. And what I love about this kind of a project is that, you know, the only thing that is required, so to speak, is shoe leather or driving. You know, that there's no, you don't need to get on a plane or rent a hotel room or anything like that. It's really meant to be a very sort of local or even hyper local, or in the case of Ilvi and some other folks, telling the story of someone in your own family. And there's just something so beautiful about that, especially in a moment where, well, not just in a moment, but so often in the world of photojournalism and documentary work, you know, we can be led to believe that we have to go halfway around the world to do anything that is meaningful or important. And I think a project like this defies those, you know, those stereotypes.
I think, yeah, we were very conscious of breaking new ground respecting also so much of the movement of recent years of saying, why are you hiring only white Western photographers to go around the world to do things? What's that about? And we were all like, yeah, what is that about too? You know, and we've all worked, I think, authentically ourselves and supported photographers in other parts of the world. But this gave us this really wonderful space to put that into action, you know, and by having people work locally. And it's actually, we ask people, work in your own community, you know, we don't want you to go spend money. And for the photographers, we'll talk coming up in the next section about the outreach for this project. But for the photographers, it's this space to be in what is a global collaborative project that will go for 7 years. So we're excited to see more people come on as well. And Ed, I'm going to ask you, just keeping an eye on the clock, to show us the second batch of photos you've got.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate, you know, that, excuse me, that, all right, there we go. Got it. That, you know, we're good. We're welcoming new photographers. I mean,
yes,
we're constantly bringing on new people. That this particular set of images, you know, only reflects a portion of what has been contributed so far. So this is an image by Laura Oliviero. She's actually a photo editor at CNN and also a wonderful photographer. And this is a picture, an image of Wendy in upstate New York. And hold on there. And then there's a wonderful set of pictures by Myra Ehrlich of Beatrice Amado in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And again, we asked for 12 to 15 images to tell this photo essay. We're sort of going old school in that it's photographs, captions, and a short text. This is an image from Kolkata, India by Debsuda Banerjee, who I have had the amazing privilege of mentoring over the last 2 years. He's an extraordinary person and created this wonderful body of work on his 2 aunties. So again, this is another example of someone who photographed in their own family. And this is image by Jumba Martin in Uganda. This is an image of his uncle, Makanga.
Who loves his radio. I love this.
Yes, and apparently Makanga is very shy about being photographed. So, you know, Jumba has been working hard to try to get his uncle to open up. So we're looking forward to more images as he pushes through in this project. And this is an image of a 72-year-old trucker in California by Isadora Kosofsky, extraordinary person and photographer based in Los Angeles. And here's Nancy by Sarah.
This is Nancy McGuire. And yeah, Ed, let's see them all. Yeah.
Where was this event? So this is in Southern California, right?
Yeah, I'll explain once you've showed them. There's Nancy with her new haircut.
You know, and I think if there's something, if I just may say that I hope this project accomplishes, is that, you know, this idea that as we get older, somehow our lives end or you know, they're not meaningful anymore. And that's a bunch of crap, excuse me. But this project really shows that there's so much life to be lived. Sarah. And Nancy.
Exactly. And let's go. We can stop screen sharing because I want to see Nancy's beautiful face. And I had so Ilvi found her subject right in her own home. I actually had to start asking friends. I could not for the life of me find a 72-year-old in Los Angeles, which has got to be a joke, I know. But I asked friends of mine, I told them we were working on this project, and I said, I found somebody who was interested but didn't want to do it they were concerned about their privacy, or it's the one person who lived an hour away couldn't connect. And then I came to Nancy, who sings in a couple of groups with a dear friend of mine. And this is Nancy McGuire. You see her there on the screen. Hi, Nancy. She's just a few miles away from me in South Pasadena, California. And Nancy, so Ilvi's dad was like, okay, my daughter wants to take some family photos. You got an email from like a total stranger. Tell us about that.
Well, you weren't a total stranger. You were a friend of a friend. And that friend is wacky enough that I I liked it. So she said, talk to my wacky friend. And I said, oh, any wacky friend of yours is a wacky friend of mine. So, okay. She said she wants to take some pictures of you. And I said, okay, well, here's where it gets kind of weird because I am not photogenic. So is there some other thing that this person might be able to use me for? You know, I'm a very interesting person. You know, maybe we could chat and, you know, have a glass of wine somewhere and stroll around. And I write, I do things, I sing. Maybe we could do those things, you know. She says, no, she wants to take your pictures. Like, how long is this the least thing that I do? You know, just talk to her. Just talk to her. Go ahead. I'll talk to anybody. Okay, fine. So that's how it started. And Sarah said, listen, I'm the photographer. This is what I do. I can take a picture of anybody. So it's, all right, we'll just talk, you know.
I seem to recall telling you that you were very photogenic and you shouldn't think
yeah,
that. I don't know.
Yeah, but I wanted to tell you you didn't know your business. So, you know, you know, I said, because I've had my picture taken for 72 years. So she said, okay.
And I have in the essay of you a really great photo of one of those like glam photos that was taken of you when you were 42. It was a super joy for me to work on this project with Nancy. She let me photograph. I mean, if I asked, I bet you'd let me come knocking on your door and take some more photos. But for over, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, she let me photograph a family picnic, you know, singing groups, getting her a manicure, pedicure. She just let me be present. And that's, for us as documentary photographers, you know, you pray to be able to be the fly on the wall in somebody's life. And Nancy gave me that privilege in about 24 hours, you know, I think. And that's a remarkable thing. And Nancy, I think you also understood quite clearly the impact of this work, right? How do you see, like, you had a great sense of the historic value of this.
It was thrilling to me. Yeah, I was so honored to be a part of what y'all are doing that, yeah, I said, come with me. Yeah, join. I don't want to create weird things to do, but I thought I had enough weird things to do that you could just be a part of anyway. So, yeah.
You had plenty, but you let me come to your doctor's office, and, you know, Nancy is struggling with a difficult illness and predictions about it. And I was so impressed with you living, and I want, you know, for me personally, it was super important to document all the choices you're making about how to live. And I think it's also because it's part of breaking stereotypes. It's part of saying to people, you know, what we hold up. Once somebody said it to me a long time ago, what we hold up is what we become. And it's a human rights old saying, you know, and it's something I've done in the Aftermath project with my post-conflict grant giving, is we hold up humanity, you know, so that we become better people. And for me, in holding you up in this way, I feel like it's letting a lot of people know, you know, that you like you talk about, you made a choice to want to live.
I don't know that there maybe other people would make other choices, but I had stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and there was just no other way in my mind to deal with it. Every day's a gift. Every day's a positive choice. And except for that, I'm pretty healthy. I don't, you know, you look around at other 72, I don't have knees, hips, I don't have.
You have original parts.
I'm all original parts. Nothing is pierced, nothing's tatted, nothing, you know, I'm all regular. It's weird. But so I don't move around in aches and pains, and except for some of the side effects of the miracle medication that I'm taking, I'm good. I'm really healthier than most 50-year-olds that I'm running into, you know, kids that I see. I'm cruising. I'm good. So I'm really kind of blessed. Yeah, I'm really kind of blessed.
No.
We're
Too
blessed
thin
in
to do. Yeah, and I wish people. So anyway, I'm putting it
So
out.
you get the second question of the three that everybody in this from all around the world is answering these same questions. The second question we've asked people is, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, what did I say?
You let's see, do you not remember? You talked about looking forward to the perfect Caesar salad,
Yes,
to reading. You had a lot. They were things that I was struck by, Nancy. They were about looking forward to life. You also said, I'm trying to actually look forward and not think of this cancer as a death sentence. You know, my normal answer would be learning stuff, doing music, reading books. And I love
onward. I got stuff to do. You know, now that I've kind of been given an end date, my expiration date, as it were, you know, I have stuff to do. So I want to get it done, get her done. Yeah, get out there and stuff. Yeah, the Caesar salad thing is very important. I have found the Caesar salad and I'm out there to duplicate it as many times as I can. So yeah, that's a very important thing.
It's important to me as a photographer to document somebody who I think is very heroic, and knowing that it's also a project. Just to give you all a bird's eye view maybe of the project, this is going on for 7 years. We'll be sharing story prompts with photographers 2 or maybe 3 times a year. We'll go up through to 2030. This website, which is literally, I think our next phone call is to see the latest design of it. But these stories will live. We are, without being grandiose, that we as the founding photographers feel super proud of the fact that we're creating a visual archive for humanity. Nobody else is doing this. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And it's thanks to the photographers who are involved and contributing that we're going to have a record of a point in history in humankind that has never happened before. And Nancy McGuire, you are there, and I am fully expecting that in the year 2030 or 2031, when we figure we'll do a big exhibition and a book out of this, that you'll be at the exhibition. I want to say, look at you.
Yes.
No, that would be so cool. That would be so cool. You asked me what my legacy was. I really didn't have a good answer. This could be it. This could be it. This would be so neat. Yeah, I have, and I think I mentioned it in my little blurb, that I have 27 grandchildren. I have 52 great grandchildren.
Wow.
And I think there's 2 on deck. I don't know, what time is it? So it might be, you know.
You have 1 great-great-grandchild present. Is another coming?
1 present. Yeah, I think there's another one on the way. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's yeah. So that would be cool for them to be able to see this happening down the line.
And they will. Everybody, they all will.
Big love, yeah. So it'd be cool. That's a legacy and a half, right?
It is indeed. Thank you. Thank you. I know, Ilva, you have thanks to your dad. I am so deeply grateful that you let me in as a stranger. I'm gonna move us. Each one of you could have your own talk show, I think, for this project. But with my eye on the
strangers no more, Sarah.
Strangers no more. It's true. Thank you. Ed, take us into part 3.
All right.
Screen share.
All right.
I just want to say on that last picture, Nancy was on a cruise in the Mediterranean, and thank you. And I was in France at the time, and we're supposed to do these projects locally, but I was like, hey, she's going to be there. I'm going to be there. She turned 72 the day before I left. We have that photo. And I was like, she went with 4 friends on the, or 3 other friends on this trip. And because I couldn't meet her, distance and different things, I coached Nancy, she must have gotten super tired of me, but on making selfies of herself on board the cruise ship. So Nancy became a collaborator with me in the photo essay of her own life, and this is where the essay ends. I applaud you again, Nancy, for
not a selfie taker, not a selfie taker.
They're perfect.
You did a great job. You did a great job. Okay, Ed, sorry about that.
All right. And actually, that's something that I'm finding where I'm using more and more in my documentary work is sort of asking our collaborators or subjects to photograph or videotape themselves, which anyway, that's a different conversation, but I think it's a really wonderful development in the world of storytelling,
Yes.
because we can't always be present for every important moment in someone's life. So anyway, okay, onward. So this last set of pictures, this is a Christy Frank story about Paula Bartlett in Ohio, who does bird banding. It's a lovely set of pictures. And this is Kendrick Brinson, who's a wonderful photographer, and we're so proud to have her part of this. This is historian Rosemary Tiffany, part of the Palms Performing Group in Sun City, Arizona, which was one of the very first retirement communities, I think back in the 50s. And then this is my work on John Curry, who lives in New Jersey. And for me, this was a really beautiful experience because John is the father of Mike Curry, who has worked with me for almost 17 years. And so it was really beautiful that after such a long relationship with his son, I actually got to meet the dad and really understand why Mike is such a wonderful man. And also it's just been a great experience getting to know John. And actually, since I finished working on this, Julie and I have gone out sailing with him, which was really great.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So this is John at his chiropractor appointment. You know, I know, well, John can speak for himself, but, you know, dealing with some back issues. He also is a survivor of leukemia. And he has this amazing good fortune of having a young, very beautiful, lovely girlfriend, Oksana. John, am I allowed to talk about this, or did I? No,
no, certainly.
It's too late. It's too late. Anyway, this is in New York City, getting a slice of pizza. What else do you do in New York City? Just, you know, as I've learned through all of the, you know, decades of working on stories about, you know, people getting older, is that it's taught me kind of if I can live a long life, what I want it to look like, what I want it to be. You know, there's so many important and great lessons to be learned from our elders. In this case, he's not so much older than me. I'm getting up there, but anyway, but it's just, I love one of the many things I love about doing this kind of work is what we get to learn about life, what we get to learn about people. All right, there we go.
Great. So bring us back to seeing folks' faces. You can stop screen sharing. I was texting with Ilvi. I'm going to back us up for just one moment because I told you that Nancy got to answer the second question, and Ilvi pointed out that I forgot to have Einar answer the first question. So before we move into part 3, we're going to go back to Einar. I told everybody not to worry about making mistakes or stopping and starting themselves. Turns out I'm the one who needs that advice. And Einar, the first question that we ask everybody is, what does it feel like to be 72?
Well, it's yeah, you grow 72. Last week I was my birthday, but it is the experience that several people around you just pass away, and that makes it a bit difficult. You can't look too far ahead. And just, I try to live by the day. I've got my bed and breakfast in which I have to work, and I enjoy little things that happen in the near future, that will happen in the near future. I'm just looking forward to that, and 7 years ago, my wife passed away, and suddenly, and that makes life a bit different. And that's why I don't look too far ahead, and I enjoy my children and the grandchildren who come regularly. It's a difficult word for a Dutchman.
Regularly.
You're doing great.
And, yeah, I enjoy the meals they have. I try to make some meals every weekend, and I ask them, well, would you like to come? And often they are all here, and I have then about 15 people for which I have to make a meal. And I enjoy that very much. I enjoy the things, for instance, once a year we go to winter sports. I try to organize that, and I enjoy that week when we are all together. Last Saturday, I had my birthday, and I invited them all, and friends and family, and I enjoyed that very much. But I don't know how it will be next year. 72, okay. I hope to be 90, but it is very difficult. And seeing what I've seen with my wife, that well, you can't expect at this age everything. That is what I experience at this age. But I experienced it already at 70 and 71. So you grow into it.
I love you grow into it.
Yeah,
Is it different?
and you only can hope that your life will last a long time, and that all your friends and family around you will join this long life. But you don't know. You don't know. Some friends of mine have cancer at this moment as well. So expect the best. And what my wife told me and the children was, well, just enjoy the day that you are living. And that is what I'm doing.
Well, that's a beautiful reminder. Einar, and thank you also for just being so, open with us. Is aging, I just about, I'm gonna say getting older. Is getting older different than what you thought it would be, when you were a young man? Is there anything surprising to you, or is it what you expected?
Well, it is what I didn't think about it. When you're young, you don't think about aging. You normally, when people ask me, do you have money for the future? I didn't realize that the age of 65 would be coming nearer. So I had to organize something for the money to live by. But when you're young, you're not realizing that. And now I am older, and I am happy that I've got my pension, and I can do the things I want to do. But I just try to stay in the running. So I have my bed and breakfast instead of teaching children, and I like it a lot. But just as long as I can do it, I will do this.
Also to stay vital and young. You like doing it. Yeah.
I like doing this. Yes.
I love that. Thank you. We'll go back into the expected order of events. And John, What did you think when Ed Cashy, a colleague of your son, said, "Can I make photographs of your life at 72 years old?"
Yeah, well, with maybe 2 days of warning, Mike said this might happen. I was thinking, how I'm going to present something, but it didn't take any presenting. It was Ed getting me under the skin, hiding in the corner and taking the shots and so forth. So I think it ran along, pretty naturally. The profile wasn't my best view, but it works, it works, yeah. So, yeah, at first I was thinking how to prepare for this as like another presentation or something like that. But that faded pretty quickly and it came kind of naturally.
That's a testament to Ed as a photographer as well. You were very, I know that shot in the doctor's office. Again, you've all been so like vulnerable with us. And I don't mean vulnerable like we could hurt you, but vulnerable in saying, this is what I look like, at 72. This is what I'm dealing with. And this is my life. I mean, I think I love that. I actually just gave myself goosebumps. That's what I've never said it that way before for me, but that's what I really love about this particular story is that each one of you is saying, this is my life. And it's a gift. Einar, even you talking about that you didn't think about when you were younger about aging, so many ways to connect the stories with like younger people and this learning and all these silly faults, things we've done in America in particular about just, oh, you're over 40. No, you should go live in a closet, unlike Japan where the elderly are national treasures. Ed, can you just share a bit of how working with John, somebody who'd been in the orbit of your life for so long, and how you came to this? And I think we each grew as photographers in doing the 72 stories. Can you just like share a bit more?
Yeah, well, so briefly, the genesis of connecting with John was that I was in my studio with Mike and May Seva, who also works with me, and I was like, okay, I have to find a 72-year-old, and I put a call out on social media. I had a number of people reach out, but nobody seemed to be quite right. It was quite beautiful that people were willing to share their lives. And then Mike said, well, my dad's 72. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, that's it then. And thankfully John agreed. And it's been beautiful getting to know John, most importantly, but, working with him in that, he didn't have a guard up. He was very gracious in allowing me to see things like, the doctor's visit and stuff like that. And then, the joy of also watching him live his life with his girlfriend in his sailing and doing all.
And that pizza shot is so fun.
Yes.
So I have to say a word about Oksana. Oksana is
yes,
the youngest sibling of 9 from a Ukrainian home. And what's going on in Ukraine is just one of many, many, many tragedies that she's had in her life. I mean, she's obviously much younger, and the physical beauty is a great attraction, which is a challenge to keep me young. But at the same time, she's been through so much more that I learned so much from her, So next month we're off to Oregon and picking up an RV and driving the mountains and the seacoast.
excellent.
Beautiful.
John, you get I'm going to just interrupt this for a bit because I don't want to forget, you get the third question that we're asking everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And it's what concerns you as you look to the future. We wanted to make 3 simple questions that anybody that had a common thread through them of what does it feel like to be 72? Thank you, Einar. What do you look forward to, Nancy? Now, John, what concerns you as you look to the future?
Yeah. I see and I see a lot of focus on what physically we're able to do with 72. But there's a huge issue in terms of what we can do mentally, in terms of what we remember, in terms of what concerns us that we're not remembering it, So the biggest mentor in my life is my dad. And his famous words were, Johnny, that's their problem. You be whoever you are, whoever you turn out to be. and leave the nonsense to them, leave the judgment to them, and just push through and live it the best you can and be thankful for what you get.
Wow,
And
we are
That's beautiful.
the other
pearls
thing-
of wisdom today.
Exactly.
This is all being recorded, so you all can revisit. But
Oh,
yeah, that's beautiful. How do you feel? And in this sort of section, also, we're going to talk about like the longer term plans for the project. And actually, I'm curious, John. So you've seen the stories, snippets of the stories that will be on the website. We have other photographers who are interested in Syria, Tunisia. We're continuing to take the 72 stories through the end of the year. But John, I'm curious what you think about being part of a global project. Do you know that there'll be people from Uganda, Brazil, the Netherlands? You've just met Einar today, as a participant on the project.
There was just something I saw on Netflix last week. It was called Blue Zones.
Yes.
Yeah, huh? And what impressed me was America's nowhere near the top if you're talking about, and it wasn't only the physical health. It was how a faith, a community, a skill, a hobby, and especially what I thought was very relative was how maintaining a balance in terms of an exercise, doing things by hand in terms of getting all your muscles working and so forth. Yeah, so I go to the chiropractor because I have all these aches and pains. But when I'm on the boat, I'm always challenged by a balance issue, and the more muscles I can operate without getting making it exercise, seems to be the biggest cure I've ever come across.
Interesting. So what John is referring to is a series that just came out on Netflix called The Blue Zones. And it's about, I think it's a 6-part series looking at parts of the world where those who are aging are doing it with a greater health or greater freedom. We're actually going to have a resources page on the website listing important articles or series. Some of them may require a subscription like Netflix, but that's one of our hopes, is that the website will become a sort of database for people who want to know more. Ed, maybe you can talk a little bit about, who we're reaching out to with the project, in terms of the NGOs, or, like, what do we see? How do we want this to get bigger, and where do we wind up?
Yeah. Okay. And I just want to refer to what John just said was basically use it or lose it. Right. And this goes almost at any age, but we're human beings are built to do things, to use our bodies, and that's what not only keeps us young but keeps everything working. So anyway, yeah. So without going into specifics, I think the vision for this is to ultimately engage with everyone from the sort of editorial world, newspapers and magazines, to the foundation, NGO, nonprofit world, which in many ways this project is even better suited for, in that, there's not an explicit advocacy component to this, but it's certainly inferred. I mean, that the goal here is not just to, gather a great set of pictures and wonderful stories, but it's also to radiate this message out to people all over the world, about how we can live better. And, people like the 3 folks here are exemplary folks for how we can live our lives if we are fortunate to live a long life, and how to stay vital and engaged. So so I think the next step, once the website is launched, is not only to accumulate more work as it's coming in almost on a daily basis, but also to find ways to get it published and to basically disseminate it out into the world. And then on the other hand, how to start to raise funds to support this project for the long haul.
Right. So I just want to add to that a little bit in terms of, so statistics are what we mostly hear around this subject. Oh, this, and one of our first conversations was that photo editors in particular, their eyes roll into the back of their heads a lot when you talk about, at least in the West again, aging. Who wants to hear about that? Or, oh, right, that's a statistic. That was one of the things that we as storytellers felt that we could challenge. We're like, oh, you think it's just some dry statistic? No, it's us. It's humanity. It's a huge number of people in the world. So that's what's driving us in it. Right now, the World Health Organization is we keep researching, and I'm going to answer some questions that have come up in the Q&As, but one of the ways we find our stories is through all of the research. We're trying to take statistics and make them human, as Ed pointed out. The World Health Organization last year launched the Decade of Creative Aging. That's a word we haven't used yet. There are nonprofits, there are groups working in this space talking about creative aging. It's about shifting at least the Western mentality. I know it's different in other parts of the world that have more appreciation and respect for the elderly, but it's about seeing, like we talked about this, we're in this incredible space where 1 in 6 people in the world will have lived 6 decades. They have wisdom. I mean, you heard wisdom today from these 3 folks. Nobody's a Nobel scientist, or this is lived wisdom that is a repository for humanity. And we'll be reaching out to the United Nations, to nonprofits working in this space, to photo editors saying, come get on board, because this is a story that needs to be told, and don't wait until 2030. We're on it now. And our story ideas, I'll give you a little hint. The next one is going to be, is it okay if I tell you guys? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, do it.
The second story prompt is going to go out in November, and it will, with a due date for photographers of March 1st. And several of you have asked how to get involved. We'll make sure you have our email addresses. We are open to everybody who wants to be part of this. But the next story prompt will be called Work or Retire. And that came from a statistic that I was doing research for something involved in us. There is a global shift in jobs that's going on to 55 and older. It's a huge shift in the labor force in the world. It's not just in the West. So we've written the story prompt already. We're not going to share it until November, because we want people to, not feel. It's super important when you're working with photographers who aren't being paid, who are doing this because they're excited about it, to not, just push everybody with a grind. So we're trying to do this in a very, organic way. That's like, okay, next story prompt, bring it in. We'll have these phases, the website will be launched. We'll be taking in stories, about 72 for all of 2023. All you need in your subject is somebody who is 72 this year. That's the parameter we made. And yes, I think somebody asked if there's text. Each story, you'll have a short, maybe 250 words, little story about the person that you're about to meet. The photos have captions, as Ilvi's noted. The website's almost like magazine style. We just feel like we're at the beginning of a wave of something that more and more people are going to be interested in. The number of you folks in the Q&A who've said, this is my thing, this is what I'm interested in. The number of people who've written to us and said, I'm doing this, I can't get anybody to pay attention. We feel there's this power in this global, storytelling space, not just one or a couple of people working on it, but all of us. And if you want to be involved, I'm trying to think of the best way to do it. You can write to Sarah, SARA, at 7photo, VII photo.com, Ilvi at 7photo.com. Do you still use that, Ilvi?
Yeah.
And is it Kashi or is it Ed?
Just ed at edkashi.com.
Ed at edkashi.com. We all have a variety of emails, but those are the shortest ones. I felt like easiest, because if you don't want to spell Ilvi's last name, that's I have to check it every time. Sorry, Einar, you gave your daughter that last name. Props to you, but there we have it. Thanks for spelling those out, David. There's no H on Sarah, and Ilvi, ILVY. Are we missing, David? You are listening, I know. Are we missing questions? Are there questions? We want to make sure we're covering what folks are interested in. I see somebody from South Asia. We are really looking for photographers in South Asia. Please do email us about that.
And Africa.
Then Africa for sure. And Stepanuita, you just email us and there's guidelines. This isn't just send us whatever you want to. We have guidelines for each story. There's a pitch and a prompt. There's guidelines for how to do the photos and the captions. And then there's guidelines for how to file them, because the other thing I want to make clear is we're not getting paid. And for transparency, we three have raised the money or paid ourselves. It's a combination right now to launch the website, to do to do all the kind of technical things you have to have. We're hoping to raise a little grant money to cover our own costs, but we had generous donors who I think gave us nearly $6,000 to help in that space. But we are trying to minimize the work that we do because we all have other projects and busy lives. So it's important to follow the directions very carefully. But the first thing you would want to know is to reach out to us with your idea and send a photo or two if you have somebody, and then we can send you guidelines. David, let me know if we're missing anything.
No, just to say, I mean, the number one question is from people about how they can be involved. So as you've called out, and I've put in the chat your 3 email addresses. So to everyone who's asking where they find guidelines, email Ed, Sarah, and Ilvi at those addresses. You'll get those guidelines. But maybe, Sarah, you could just explain a little bit more for people. So the 72, it's a 7-year project, but there are various cycles per year for the project, yes. And 72 is the cycle for 2023. You talked about work and retirement, different.
Work and retire comes after
next
that.
One. What else are you thinking of for subsequent years?
Well, I can tell you what the last story will be. Can I do that? It's like a bit of a surprise. But in the year 2030, the first millennial will turn 50. And the final story in this project will be about a millennial who's just turned 50, as a way of showing the interconnectedness of all of this. And do email everybody, because if you email us with your interest in the project, you'll go on our email list to photographers who want to be involved. You'll automatically, whether or not you do this story or not, you'll automatically go on our list. But Ilvi, it looked like you wanted to add something.
No, I basically wanted to say that as the project is going on in the upcoming years, we are making the prompts as we go. What's really interesting with whatever project as a photographer you start, and I know there's a lot of photographers in this call now as well. There are a lot of photographers in this call. And once you start working on a project, so in our case now on aging, can't use the word anymore, but is that you see, getting older, that you see, all of a sudden you see stories popping up left and right from different publications, and you're thinking, oh, wow, there's so much out there already. But those kind of stories are actually helping us, because a lot of the times they have a lot of statistics, but not the visual side. So as the project continues, we're hoping to do about 2 prompts every year. And we get them as we go, because we see stories and then we realize, oh, wow, it's all about statistics. But the people behind these statistics, like the beautiful 72-year-olds that are with us right here, are usually not shown. So yeah, we go as we go, or
That's a great description. And, you know, if somebody has an idea or has seen a statistic, they can certainly share it. You know, we are planning an arc, you know, even though as we choose as we go, we'll do a story on the challenges of aging at some point. We'll probably do something related to healthcare. You know, our primary focus is challenging the stereotypes in many ways, in finding new ways to frame and tell this demographic story. But it doesn't mean it's all acting like, I mean, you heard very legitimate things from our 3 people today, you know, of what they're concerned about in getting older. We will find ways to do those too, but it's all with this deep love of our shared humanity. I mean, I think that's really what drives this project, and this feeling that we have so much to learn from this particular, in particular, this population of humankind. And we're bringing that to the forefront. And we're also saying, all right, then how do we care for these people? We've talked about intergenerational living. That's one that may come up as a story prompt at some point. We'd look for statistics on it to figure that out, but it's not just like we want to do a statistic, but we look for the statistic that we know has a story, within it, that has human stories. So like, I think we set the bar pretty high with 72. Like, and it'll be like, wouldn't you agree with like what we're already getting?
There's so much. Yeah, what's been interesting, I think, to all three of us is you think of this idea, you have the statistic 72, you ask other photographers to join, and then the images start coming in, and you realize, oh, this was actually really a good idea, because you can feel in your heart that the images that are coming in are really meaning, like they really mean something. They really, I don't know. You all saw them now.
It's a great way to put it, but I honestly feel that every photographer, I don't know personally several of the photographers who are starting to contribute. I feel so much love and respect in every story that's come in. And that's a learning space, I think, as well for us as photographers. I think, like we talked about it, we've all been changed, and I expect that we'll continue to be in the course of this. Ed, do you have any, like, we're at 10, we can go a little longer, David, or where do you want us to?
Yeah, no, we can carry on. I've got an audience question, but Ed first.
Okay, Ed, yeah, what would you add?
Well, I mean, to sort of build on and amplify what you were just talking about, is that it's also critically important. I think we will all agree that if this project is meant to be truly successful, from the point of view of like reflecting the sort of global community of elders, we still need more diversity. And that would be my call out to folks who are listening or who might know photographers, again, especially in Africa and East Asia. This is an ambitious thing we're trying to do here. But for it to really succeed, in my eyes, we need to truly have not just diversity for the sake of diversity, but because we can learn so much from each other.
It's so true. And honestly, we've probably reached out to hundreds of photographers, and maybe you get 1 in 10 responding. We feel as the project gets out there and people see the website, it will trigger more. Even those of you, thank you so much, who've been here in the conversation today and are interested. But oh my gosh, diversity, that once we knew that we could have people work locally, we feel like we cracked the nut in terms of how this could be a very authentic, very global way of storytelling. I want to give a last question to each of our 3 participants. Does either of you want to say something more about the project? Or
well, before we do that, I just want to bring in.
I
want to bring in Mark's question, actually, because it's about kind of going beyond the project itself. And he says, this is a wonderful, inspiring project which convenes a global documentary photography community space. Do you have ideas for how this space might grow in other ways?
I saw that question. It kind of stumped me, so I think I just let it slip to the back of my mind. Like Ylvi and Ed, what do you think? I mean, we've talked about that. We see it can become an exhibition, a book, that we envision. When I talked about the work that we've done, we're trying to minimize work because we want photo editors, everybody, to go directly to photographers, to license their work. We're not taking a cut from anybody. The photographers give their work for free, but they also get all the benefits that would come from it. In terms of other, actually, no, I do have one answer on that. Maybe you guys do too. The partners we're talking with, one partner has already said, can you do an exhibition at this conference that we're doing, a creative aging conference? And we said, we think we're just a little too baby, we've just started, we're not ready yet, but in 6 months or in a year. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about the partnerships. What we're looking for are people who can publish the work, who are interested in these issues, interested in our values, which include bringing greater respect, breaking stereotypes, and honestly and compassionately addressing challenges. So if they want to do an exhibition along the way, or maybe they pick 3 stories from 72, they'd pick them, you know, like, and say, we're going to do an exhibition here. We'd say, here are the photographers, be in touch with them. But so we think storytelling makes the work of people who deal with statistics, you know, primarily, these people deal with human beings. I don't mean that, but so much of how they get funding or how they raise awareness has to do with, like, by the year 2030, 1 in 6. We think our stories, all storytelling, helps bring those issues to life. And Ed, I saw your hand up. What do you want to say?
Yeah. And I feel like, as I've done, you know, in the last 20 years or so with many of my personal projects, and there's a great history of this with 7 Photo, where, you know, the goal is not just to create images for the sake of creating images or for art or for the editorial space. That's obviously those are beautiful goals, but it's also about making, you know, being a part of change, having real impact on the world. And I think we've all, the 3 of us, and my God, Sarah, with your Aftermath project is another beautiful example of that, where it's not just a celebration of photography and storytelling. It's also creating content that other people can use, or organizations can use, whether it's to advocate for their goals in this space, or you know, whatever it may be. But that, I think, is a shared goal of ours, is that this is not just about, I mean, yes, having a book and having exhibitions are beautiful and very much fulfill the more
they raise awareness.
Raise awareness. But, you know, how do you utilize those materials, those outputs, so that you can really impact people, in this case, on a global level? And so we're at the beginning of what is a very long journey, and I can already start to see, like, sort of strands coming together and complementing each other, you know, where, you know, like, for instance, this work might be used at a conference on creative aging. So that right there is a beautiful example of how this work can facilitate dialogue, can facilitate conversation, and raise awareness.
Yes, because those nonprofits, so often nonprofits don't have a budget for things like this. And, you know, we're saying, find our Pat the cat. my puppy is, oh, well, she's somewhere.
Bella.
I love that. But yeah, exactly that, Ed. And it's up to, you know, photographers, if there's a fee, that fees would be worked out. We're not asking photographers to give their work to free for anybody. We understand we all need to make a living, so we're working those things out. But that is our goal, that this be a living body of work that will, I mean, just think about this, everybody, because this is what staggers me about this. In 7 years' time, with this group of photographers, as it grows, the images that we'll have made about what it means to be a human being at this historic point in time, these are images that are going to live forever. You know, this is a once in history moment. There'll be other historic moments that come, but it's documented in such powerful ways that super moves me. Ilvi, what were you going to say? Or not?
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I was listening to you.
Well,
because I totally agree. And I was actually kind of in my mind thinking what this could be like in so many years. When you said it that way, I was envisioning, like, oh my goodness. Wow, we're doing this 7 years. It's like, yeah.
7 years. It's a really unusual thing. I honestly don't know of any other photo project that's working with this timeline, with this way of working
as a group,
global collaboration. And I did see one person who had a question, David, you might have answered it, about working as a local news photographer for a news station. You have to clear with your higher ups what you can do, what is work for hire and what is not. And we do have Carrie Hilliker. We will have Instagram and Facebook. We chose because an older population is more likely to use Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are the spaces we're going to be. We are avoiding X, formerly Twitter, because there's also what we can handle is 3 people, you know, and do. So just remember that. But we will be in all those 3 spaces. And for the last word in the conversation today, I would like to come back to our wonderful 72-year-olds. And you can do 2 things. Just one, if you have a final thought on the conversation, as you've heard it. And then 2, it's sort of a paying it forward idea, which is, what would you tell a subject, somebody else who may be a subject in the future, about why they should do it? So you can answer both questions or either one. And John, we'll start with you.
You're muted,
You're
John.
muted.
The most famous words of the pandemic era. Unmute yourself. John, you're still muted. You have to unmute.
I saw it. I think I lost the connection. That's how I came back to life, muted, which is the natural
Welcome
state
home.
after all, you know. But yeah, I would say it's a tremendous growth opportunity. You know, how often can you look at yourself from the eyes of somebody else and the camera and the exposure and so forth here, and admit and you know, and live and smile about that, you know. So I think it's a great opportunity. Yeah.
You're very generous. Thank you, John.
Thank
You for being with Ed. Nancy, either final thoughts on the conversation or the pay it forward to another potential subject. What do you think?
Oh, I would say potential subject, go, do, run toward, please. This has been a fabulous experience. And I'm thinking as I'm sitting here who I can give to you, who I can bless you with, because this has been a wonderful experience. And you know, Sarah, we're thinking of that one woman who said, "What will my name be in it? And will, you know, will my address be exposed?" And, you know, oh my Lord, you dodged a bullet on that one, you know. So there are so many wonderful, loving people out there who will see this and think, geez, what a thing to participate in and give to the world. And yes, so it's been an honor for me to do it. There was, you know, things I wish I could have thought of that Sarah and I could have done together, and she could have captured.
Amazing.
You know, we were in Provence at the same time, people. We were going to do that, and the weather was just prohibitively awful for Sarah to drive down and meet me at the cruise ship. So
I think the selfies were the better choice, actually.
No, they were not, but yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
But
so
yeah,
much.
this has been a fabulous experience. And if there are, oh no, I will be thinking of people that if you get other photographers and they don't have anybody, then, you know, I might be able to throw people.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you for giving me a little piece of legacy that I can, yes, thank you.
You deserve it.
Beautiful way of putting it.
Yeah. Einar, so you get the very last word in the conversation. Well, David will get the last word here eventually, but in our conversation, do you want to have a last comment on what's been talked about, or do you want to pay it forward to another subject? And I do just want everybody to take a moment and appreciate that Einar has been speaking to us in English, which is not his first language, and it's been brilliant and beautiful. And
well done, Dad.
Yeah,
really, I'm impressed
well done,
too.
Einar. Thank you. There's a 72 lesson. Speaking of language, you don't know.
I did not know that, so kudos.
Yeah.
I wonder, well, we 3 participants are living in a very wealthy world and having all kind of medicines to our what do you call it? We can have medicines to keep us alive. I wonder how it is on the other side of the world. So I want people from Africa and Asia and to tell their stories. We are healthy people. We are wealthy people. And how is it? Well, I know it a bit, but how do people at the other end of the world experience their aging? And that will be quite a different story from what we just told people. And that's what I just
such a great point
to say to to all the photographers, please
Thank
join this project.
Yes.
Thank
It's-
you, Einar. That's at the heart of one of our ongoing concerns. Not everybody looks like, lives in the West with access to what Nancy has referred to as miracle drugs. And it's like, let's get the global picture. So we're super encouraged that some of those stories will be on the website. There's more coming. And they'll come, the 72 stories will come through the end of the year. And then we'll be back in March. Hopefully David will have us again to talk about work or retire. But I think that's a really lovely way to land our conversation, with the reminder that it's stories from all over the world, from all kinds of people, that are going to inform us and enrich this conversation. So thanks to each of the three of you. A big virtual hug to you for all the love and life you've shared with us and this group of people today. And for me, and I think Ed, Ilvi, and I agree, and if you guys want to say anything, do too, the strength of this project has been that the three of us respect each other so much, and each one of us pulls our weight in this project, and we are committed to what we're doing. There's no, nobody's trying to do the best or be the best, or we believe in this idea that is about humankind. And I am I can't imagine doing this work with anybody but the two of you. So I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
I
everyone.
agree.
Well,
And
thank you.
Can I add one short thing? I know there's a lot of photographers watching who participated in the project, and we also really want to thank you for your beautiful, beautiful work and for doing this with us.
Thank you
Seriously.
for taking the leap of faith with us.
Yeah. Your stories come in and they're breaking our hearts with their beauty and humanity. So we will continue to be in touch with all of y'all. Thank you, David.
Well, thank you, Sarah and Ilvi and Ed, as always. I mean, this is an incredible project. I mean, special thanks to Einar, Nancy, and John for participating not only in the project, but in this conversation, because I think it's really important for everyone to see that. As you know, we've been recording this. It'll be on our website in about a week or so. We'll send you the links. And that means also for the photographers in the audience, you'll be able to check back in on the project. We'll put information there on how to get in touch with Sarah and Ilvi and Ed, so you can be part of the project and get the prompts and so on. That information will be there. And we will definitely look forward to having you back in March for round 2 on work and retirement.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
You.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.